Let's talk about whether or not we incentivize students.
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And as always, the thoughts and opinions expressed within this episode are those of your hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. Talking about how we go about rewarding student behavior. And we're going to approach this one more generally and just see where the conversation goes. A little bit different than other episodes where we have the hyper-focus, not just of casual days, but also of faculty, staff, casual days. Or talking about the incentivizing of students. And to start with, let's just take a look at where this thought came from. And it's not that we haven't, of course, long had conversations about what is appropriate when it comes to behavior management, what's appropriate when it comes to a reward for good grades, or, even the type of reward. We don't want to be passing out candy every other day. We want to have appropriate expectations in place. Where's that balance? So I know that, Matt, the rest of our Christian school brothers and sisters and educators everywhere struggle with competition in the classroom being the incentive versus just the expectation of the mission being the incentive, the expectation of a certain teacher being more or less than another. All of that goes into this conversation. But the spark for the conversation came from a Mr. Walt Hunter at Case Western Reserve University. And we usually wouldn't be reviewing what a college professor would have to say and immediately making applicable to K through 12 experiences. At the same time, we know that a lot of what freshman classes are in college right now are just duplicative high school credits because we have so many high schoolers taking those credits. So especially someone who's teaching freshman English, we can have more understanding of the relevance of his conversation. But then when you see what he's talking about and just pedagogy overall, I'd also say we don't usually also prefer The Atlantic as a news source for us. But it is a thought-provoking piece that should not be always shunned just because it may have different leanings. There's, of course, useful thoughts in the work consistently. You might have to dig through to find them, but anyway, so Mr. Walt Hunter published a piece, and then the tagline headline, the thought-provoking headline was "Stop Meeting Students Where They Are," which of course is just significant departure from what we have been screamed at by. This is a cultural movement as well, because our churches meet the people where they are. Be the grace-filled, be the seeker-friendly church, right? So this is not just about our schools, though we're referring this conversation, we're meeting this conversation in our schools. We're having this conversation about our schools, about what we do with our students. But Matt, any just thoughts on a summary of that article and any further thoughts on it?
So when it comes to, in this particular case, dealing with English, literature, language arts courses within the college level of in order to kind of meet where the students are as they're coming in, the expectation is over the years, English professors have been lessening assignments just to guarantee that assignments A are getting done and that they're getting done well. And the proposal within the article is stop doing that. Instead, assign harder assignments. More specifically, the focus is on reading, and that the reading assignments need to be not cut down. We need to maybe cut away from the meticulous assignments and just say, hey, you need to read more. You need to, swallow whole texts as opposed to snippets of it.
Long form reading, long form writing should be something our students walk away having the opportunity to appreciate.
And the kind of takeaway of the summary of it is basically in English, it's a flipped classroom in a sense, in that the students are going to take the time to do the reading. And then when they come to class, it's just, I want you to regurgitate, or I want you to give me your impression of what you read last night, instead of just let's go through this bit by bit. little by little, let me walk you through the text as the professor. I want you to be able to look at it and do something with it. Ultimately, if we were to generalize this, with not just assignments, but as we were saying in our intro, kind of with behavior, we want the students to be able to recognize the benefit and even what's the opposite to benefit? The consequences of poor behavior or not doing work, period, and I think that's where ultimately my head has gone when it comes to raising the bar of expectations and allowing the students an opportunity to rise and meet those challenges.
So there's a lot going on there. And that, again, was used as a jumping off point for us, a jumping off point for a discussion that I had with a graduate class. I have synchronous sessions with this class that are voluntary on Thursday evenings. And I asked the students to come ready with a thesis as a reaction to a peer-reviewed journal article, which they find and read. And one of the thesis statements provided by a student, she's a kindergarten teacher actually, was my classroom should incentivize proper behavior. And I tell these students, just come with some arguable assertion. We're going to be ripping these apart, grappling with them, having fun with them, enjoying them. And I can honestly say the students do enjoy this time. Praise God, we enjoy this time together, because a lot of online students, they do wind up missing that face-to-face opportunity that they have, which, you go online for a lot of good reasons, but it doesn't mean you don't want to interact with people 100% of the time. And since it's voluntary, those who don't want to interact with people don't really have to, should they choose not to. So we enjoy this time together. They come with a thesis statement. And again, she brought the thesis statement of, I need to make sure that I have incentivized my classroom for proper behavior. And as all good conversations should have, there was an ante provided. And I was not the devil's advocate, but I was the angelic advocate. And I said, get on the opposite side of this. Show me that there should never be incentivizing of grades or of behavior. And there was plenty in the class who gave a lot of opinions about why the incentivizing should not occur. Before I tell more about that conversation, Matt, just off the cuff, if I was asking you to give me good reasons why incentivizing should not occur, did you have any thoughts that come immediately to your mind?
I think
or is your mind a blank slate, full of nothing, empty bucket?
I've got opinions, man.
I've got opinions. I've got big thought.
Honestly, I think the biggest reason for a desire to not incentivize is because I feel largely the majority of the time, the incentive is an improper incentive, or it's not sufficient for what you're actually trying to use it for. For an example, you brought up a kindergarten. I heard of a kindergarten incentive program where, in order to get the kids to behave, the teacher had the students bring in their favorite stuffed animal from home, put that stuffed animal up on a shelf, and they lined them up. And if the student misbehaved, the student was instructed to go
cut off its head,
take that stuffed animal and turn it to face the wall.
This is dramatic.
I mean, this is what, my teacher used to tell me to take my chair and face the wall. Like, I had to do that myself, but now we're doing it to stuffed animals. And it was like traumatizing to these kids to have to go do that to their favorite stuffy, And so, okay, they don't want their stuffed animal to face the wall, so they're going to behave. But is that truly what if I don't have a stuffed animal in my room? What if that program, whatever it is you're doing, is no longer existent? Do I no longer have to obey? So is it truly fulfilling what you're trying to accomplish?
Also, are you going to be dancing around 20 different stuffed animals and keeping a good track of, we got to make sure, little Miss Muffet has her head turned around, and that Bobby the bear he's facing sideways now.
And then I can also tell you, while, a little Jill like that, she does not want her stuffy facing the wall. So she is absolutely motivated to do the best she can. There's Alex over there. He could care less what happens to his stuffed
animal. Wants to see that stuffy spin.
Like, who cares? I don't want that thing looking at me. Let's not only throw it. Can I throw it in the trash too? Like, he's gonna push it because he doesn't care.
Okay. So the incentive not fitting the bill, and it's so crazy. Some of what you brought up, I'm gonna have to come back to and mention, because it was mentioned on this evening as well. But what else? What else about incentives jumps to your mind as being a reason we do not run to incentives.
Yeah, I think just the other scary part of it for me is just consistency, that you have to be consistent. And I have yet to really see an incentive program that makes it easy for both teachers and students to see the consistent upholding of it that makes it effective.
I I tell you, even the ones that are the tried and true tales old as time, Ulysses, the demerit system,
Yep.
even demerits. It's
No.
even though like the pink slip, the expectations written out in the handbook, top to bottom. That does not mean it's going to be consistently applied.
Correct.
So 100%, I'm with you on that one. Like even forget the merits. We're talking about demerits this time. So yes, to both of those points, exactly, spot on. And we could go to a few more. And in fact, that class did run to a few more. So we have does the incentive actually fit the behavior we're trying to bring out?
Mhm.
We had, is it able to be consistently applied? Can someone dance around 20 bears or, stuffies
Mhm.
fast enough in his or her day to make sure that it's actually modifying the behavior? Further yet, how has that incentivizing been tracked for success? That's a project in and of itself. Maybe as an administrator, your capstone project coming out of your degree caused you to go and look at some intervention that you brought forth in your school, and you had to actually go and determine a way of analyzing your data and seeing if it was statistically significant, to seeing if it was that variable, or was it the fact that you just, were coming off a holiday and that's why
Mhm.
everybody was so crazy or whatever it happened to be. So there were many, many brought up, and there are many more to go through. There was a student in the conversation though, to get back on the other side, the pro side, there was a student who said, I don't know how I can't make my high school classroom gamified.
Mhm.
And he had spoken very specifically about, if you haven't seen these, I won't lie, they are pretty cool. There are opportunities for a school to buy into a software system, or or give teachers access to these classroom video game setups. And it's not that the students play the video game, it's that the students wind up being a part of a video game.
Mm.
So the behavior management system, it looks like a video game. It looks like the teacher is moving, Johnny and Susie and Shania through a forest. I'm thinking of Link right now in my N64 days, or whatever it happened to be. You're moving these avatars through a system, and then the rewards come from being well behaved, and then your avatar gets something for the game, and then you can see the game progress. It seemed as though he was speaking about having a classroom that was attached, or had made that a part of itself. And so that was very interesting to hear from him. But again, the immediate reaction of, I don't know how I couldn't, because I don't know if my students would listen otherwise.
Right.
And what wound up happening throughout we used that, probably talked about it for 20 minutes because we have fun that way. And it was a great conversation, but the conversation largely wound up saying, we understand that incentivizing students is going to be unique across our schools, and it's going to be unique across our student population.
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear: a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
Let me tell you about GradeLink. It's that one tool that can really simplify your school's day-to-day. We've heard from so many schools how it just takes the headache out of admin work. So if you want to see how it might help make your life easier, just visit cpp.gradelink.com and take a look for yourself.
But one of the biggest reasons we should not incentivize is because we should have high expectations for our classrooms. And I know you were going to say something along those lines, so
Yeah.
prepare your thoughts as I keep rambling here. But that was where many of those on either side of the conversation had found very common ground and moved their thoughts forward from the conversation. That if we have high expectations and we can point to study after study after study and story after anecdotal story from the students who said, I really could care less about school. And then I got Mrs. Williams, and then I found Mrs. Steele, and then I found Mr. Whoever it happened to be. And this teacher, they knew their stuff, and they knew their stuff, and they were very good with their stuff, and they were engaging. And it was, by the way, none of them were gamifying their classrooms. They were just, again, they would open the book. They would know what the material was. They would tell stories about the kings or the queens being affected, and they would engage with their students and then expect their students to be able to then expect the students and hold the students accountable to the work that was called for them to do. How many times have we heard those stories coming back from students saying, that teacher changed my life, not because they just gave in, not because they just made it easy for me, but because they expected more from me. We hear this, and here's my other, again, soapbox. Ready? Soapbox out. I hate that this is okay in athletics and it's not okay in academics.
Right.
How many times do we hear stories about that coach really pushed me?
Yeah.
I didn't want to be pushed, but he chipped off the nest and he found the diamond that was in me, and I got to give him I'll be thankful for the rest of my life for him because he really pushed me as hard as he. Okay, there was nothing that coach did that looked like gamification or looked like incentivizing. It was, do this because you can be better. You're right. I can be better. Look at me getting better. Go ahead, Matt. You take off.
Well, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, we're in the midst of the Winter Olympics, and those are the stories of like I've killed myself to get to this point. And, none of it is pleasurable. None of it is easy, or I'm going to skip the gym for, a week because it's just too hard. They don't get to the Olympics. They are nose to the grindstone, putting in the work every day. And there's the benefit that, 30-second slide down the side of a mountain, that is what it is. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And in our classrooms, it's even more important. Yes, we need, and I think what I'm trying to say too many things at one time. I think if we were to look back at why do we get to the point of meeting students where they are, the worst type of student is a unmotivated student, a student that is just apathetic, doesn't really care that they get bad grades. And believe me, we've had those students. You have the parent conference and the parents look just as lost as we are, that this child truly does not care about getting the bad grades, about having to repeat a grade, whatever it is. It's just, you can't find that nugget that's going to inspire them and cause them to be motivated. And so we dumb everything down so that it's less likely that they will actually fail. But in reality, we are failing them because we're not pushing them to do better. We have to have realistic expectations. I think that's the other side of it is you get a teacher that comes in and just says,
Oliver Twist by tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to
get on it.
Read Oliver Twist, and you got to write a 5-page essay about it and submit it by tomorrow. And I will not be accepting late work, and all this kind of stuff. Like, students get overwhelmed, they're also not going to be performing well. So all of that kind of combined has brought us to this place of, well, let's dumb it down, go to Spark Notes, get these kind of things and deal with it with smaller nibbles. Smaller nibbles will help you get farther. But what about those kids what are we saying about them? We're saying you're not capable. And instead, when we give them an opportunity to show what they're capable of, not only are we giving them an opportunity to show that to us, we're giving them an opportunity to show that to themselves. And so within academics, it's just as important to give them opportunity to shine as you would out on the basketball court or anywhere else in life.
Now, in this conversation I had with those students, as the conversation kept rolling, of course, the original generator, the progenitor of the original idea, wound up saying, well, Now, what I was really focusing on was the incentivizing, or you're rewarding students who had gone the extra mile. And it was very interesting that she used that language, and because someone else then chimed in with, yeah, we're talking about students who go the second mile here. And I could only do this because of the rapport that we have together in that space. And it truly is a wonderful space. It is. I hope I'm a funny guy. I hope I'm an enjoyable person to listen to, not just on the podcast, but also as an academic. And so these thoughts are going around. It's as much peer talk as me. I'm not, pontificating from on high. When that came up and someone said, yeah, it was just for the students who are going the second mile. I said, that's right. I remember now. Because in the New Testament, we're called to pat those on the head who go a second mile. It's not commanded. It's not just you do this. It's no. We should incentivize going that second mile. And of course, that got laughs in the classroom and, shaking of heads and whatnot, because that idiom comes from the New Testament and comes from when they compel you, go with them a second mile. It's a command. It's an expectation. So the conversation around incentivizing going the extra mile, well, it's not one that includes incentivizing.
Right. And that's one of the things that we've said in the past of, we want to definitely praise good behavior, but we shouldn't be overly praising expected behavior. And that's just going back to fixing your expectations. What should be expected versus what is recognizing, oh, wow, you definitely went above and beyond what was expected.
Yeah. Walking away from this conversation, please do not go to your kindergarten teacher and tell her to stop handing out candy to students. Please don't do that. For your own safety, don't do that.
Save the treasure box.
Yes, we need, but allow those to be what they are. It's a broader conversation of these. There's a lot of house systems right now of students broken up into houses across the school, and they're rewarded for behaviors or they're rewarded for competitions. One, just know for those that are putting the time and effort into those, that it will take to make that run well. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, not only in the creation of them, but also in the continual focus on them. It should not be something picked up without extreme thought put in on the front side of the purpose of it, the value of it, the way it will be continued after the first year, what's going to happen when so-and-so doesn't care about it, just like we see with other incentivizing programs. And I go we can go cross ministry conversation here, but when the youth pastor comes fired up to present a lesson or a sermon to the youth group on a certain topic, or the pastor with his congregation on a certain topic, and then it's the people in the back who get up and leave just as fast as they ever always do. And it's the people in the front who are mournful over their current state of sin anyway. And they're the ones who are crying even more so. And you feel like that lesson has just completely missed its mark. And you want to throw the hymnal at both sets of people and be like, you shut up, you're fine. I was trying to talk to Tommy back there. Like that same situation, making sure that these behavior management systems, it's the incentivizing that you are allowing to go on in your school, making sure it's actually hitting its mark, and the ones who care about it is just as meaningful, because anything extra that we do, we're taking more time and effort and energy away from something else. And make sure you're willing to give that time, make sure you're willing to give that energy to a program like this, whatever it happens to be. This was fun. We went general, so don't expect us to not return to this topic, which are a whole lot of negatives. Expect that we will return to this topic at some point, because even where we started, stop meeting students where we are, we use that as a launching off point. And then we talk more about incentivizing and behaviors and whatnot. We even talk about schools that just, the opposite side. We should present the thesis: we will never have a behavior management program, our behavior, positive behavior integration system, because we believe Christian character and biblical character is what we're called to, not what we should be rewarding, as we kind of talked about with expectations. But all that being said, it's time to talk about all that being said, without giving Matt any time to come and have any further part of this conversation. We're going to go ahead and spotlight our next Christian school administrator. Matt, Who is our next Christian school administrator spotlight?
We're heading back to Rejoice Christian School in Owasso, Oklahoma, and we are spotlighting Lisa Zingerman, who is the assistant head of school, but also the middle school and high school principal. Lisa,
Oklahoma.
It's a very interesting musical. It's one of my first musicals that I remember listening and watching while I was not yet in school. And yet, when I look at it now, and when I look at how it is in today's modern culture, there's some issues with that musical, unfortunately.
Kind of like Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yeah. Very, very similar.
That's got derailed quickly from my little, what do I say? From my song, my little song, my little cant, my little,
But we're going to keep the spotlight on Lisa.
Yeah.
And her work there.
Yeah. Lisa, I'm sorry. Sorry, Lisa. That was, let's get back to you. Mac, you pray for Lisa, please.
Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for Lisa and the work that she does at Rejoice Christian, especially as she's leading middle school and high school. I know she is probably exploring many incentive options with encouraging Christ-like behavior, and I just pray that you would allow her to find ways to encourage her faculty and staff to give their students opportunities to rise to the occasion, to live according to your word, and to excel and to do their best academically, spiritually, athletically, whatever else they may be doing there. I rejoice, pray for Lisa that you would encourage her personally, that you would, again, keep her safe and supported throughout the rest of her school year this year. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Go out there and expect greatness, folks. Expect greatness. And besides that, thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.